Excellent. Great. Oh. Ooh. Oh, that's very good. Gosh.
A quantity of conversation of those.
Wow. Ah, good. Have you got anything you want to...
I would quite like to talk about now, seeing as I'm trying to do this process properly, the idea of what's the next stage now. So I've done my writerly writing.
Yeah.
So I haven't skipped it. What's the purpose of it really, and why? I'm quite happy to be doing it, but I'm kind of not entirely sure what you do now.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
So you edit it down and change?
Well, can we just take your first point, that you think you've done it, the writerly, right? Now,
well, I've done a draft.
Yeah.
I've done a piece that's writerly.
Right. Now, can I just question whether something is omitted that's very important, and it's to do with something that you are excited about in terms of your buzz. You put a lot of effort and a lot hinged on it in getting that lottery grant.
Yeah, I couldn't talk about the lottery grant until I knew the results.
Right. Yeah, but
it's far too nerve-wracking.
Right. So you had got.
But now I've got it. I could talk about that.
Yeah. So it's just asking in terms of the writerly text, even just putting the proposal, as an appendix or whatever. But just writing a little bit about that, because it is so important, and you've held it here. You've held it in because. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it's interesting what you just said. Couldn't write about it before because that was too nerve-wracking. That would be interesting to actually include.
Yeah. I couldn't talk about it, or someone every time I talked about it said, "We won't talk about that because that's too much. Wait and see what happens with that." Because it almost doesn't exist. It's like the Schrodinger's cat until you know the outcome. It both exists and doesn't exist at the same time, because if you focus too much on what you've written in a funding bid that you don't know whether you've got yet, the tension is too great, because you don't want to let yourself be taken down the path of all the possibilities of the funding bid to be squashed by it's like the hope and my way it scales. Funding bids are the same thing. You have to hold the hope that you're going to get it, but you have to equally hold the fact that you won't get it. So you can't let the hope scale go too high, because you'll come crashing down. So you have to keep them very firmly weighted with the possibility that it won't happen. So at that point they both exist and don't exist at the same time. And it's only when you get the result that you can go with your hope and off you go into the actual making it real, or not get so crushed by the disappointment of it that you can carry on and you're putting in other bids to mitigate in case you don't get them.
That was very clear. You could do that verbatim to put into the writerly text, because as that was going on, your writerly text, there was all this effort being put into this proposal. It's about the whole future of the centre, 3-year project, 400,000, and now it's actually been accepted. Now, what you described there about, and you've done this before, which is really exciting because this is a different context in terms of the economic, but it's how you hold the hope together with a possible disappointment, like you did with your mum. Now, actually, in the writerly text, all I'm saying is that isn't being omitted at the moment. I think you are now free to say what you've said, and you've got the evidence of this proposal and what it meant for the future of the centre.
Thank goodness there was Sonia writing about this and it didn't happen in another universe. And talking about how terrible it is. Yes. That's fine. I think there's something that's quite an interesting way to talk about the economic in the same way that you talk about the social and the emotional, because they are really the same thing that you're holding. And of course what you're holding is all the problem with the possibilities of what you get with the bid is great, but the possibilities that you get without the bid is, maybe we won't be able to keep as many staff on, maybe we won't be able to run the projects for the carers. You know, you're holding people's life in the balance, whether or not you wrote a good enough bid, or whether it was judged or deemed good enough against other people's bids.
Right.
So there's that kind of competitive economic environment.
It's also holding the economic drive without losing connection with the values.
Yeah.
It's what it is that you're actually wanting to achieve.
Yeah.
And sometimes not. I think
But then you
it
have
would
to-
be interesting how you would have dealt with it if you hadn't got the bid. I think you might have actually then also engaged creatively with what it is,
Well, we knew
as to what it is that you're wanting to achieve. And how
Well,
you
what
can
we've
achieve
done
it.
is we've done some economic forecasts around what we would do without big lottery bids. So we'd already actually done that, and we tried. I can tell you exactly how our values worked in the senior management team, which is you cut back everything that's not for carers. You know, so you have less senior management, you have less administration, and you try and keep everything in the front line so that you can continue to work, knowing that that's going to cause tension in the front line because they're not going to have any backup, but you will essentially still have the staff there to work directly with the carers.
Yeah.
So that is our values. We'd already done this in financial.
It's also an interesting problem as to then what counts as front line and how can they do their job, and if they can do their job without that level of management, then perhaps anyway. Anyway, it introduces
Because we knew we'd lose
different
quality.
ways of.
That's what I'd said to this. I said to the trustees, if we don't get this, we will lose quality. We won't be such a high quality organisation, but we will have to muddle through in order to keep those services there.
Can I just ask that, because I know you already have done that,
Yeah.
because about 4 or 5 months ago you explained that you'd actually worked through the scenario where you didn't get it, right? So we've actually got the evidence of how you have worked to hold these together. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you'd also have the understandings of what you mean by quality.
And what I
Sorry, I can't
No.
Well, what I said is you'd really have to have somebody who'd start off like I did, which would through the ashes build up again, because you'd have lost a lot of what you got, and they'd have to start from scratch again really to build up what we didn't have in place. Which is kind of where I came into the organisation, which was an organisation that wasn't fully functioning, and you needed to build from nothing really, and try to get it to the point where it's actually achieving something.
Yeah.